As China marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic, a massive plan to connect 11 southern Chinese cities with a combined GDP larger than South Korea turns 5 this year. Well, the Greater Bay Area comprises cities in Guangdong Province, Hong Kong and Macau. It's connected by an extensive network of railways, bridges and ports, including mega structures like the Shenzhou Link and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. China has 2 Tier 1 cities in the GBA alone, which means they each have a GDP of more than $300 billion. Well, CNA's Deborah Wong looks at how the region is repositioning itself as it seeks to burnish its image as the vanguard of reform.
A new 24-kilometer bridge now winds across the Pearl River estuary, cutting travel time between 2 major southern cities of Shenzhen and Zhongshan by more than half. The US $6.7 billion megastructure has 8 lanes, 2 bridges, 2 artificial islands, and an undersea tunnel. It's now become a symbol of the region's ambitions to take opening up to a new level, as it positions itself as a key node in the Belt and Road Initiative with connectivity at its heart.
Here in the Greater Bay Area, that connectivity is meant to create a 1-hour living circle, which means you can get to anywhere within the Greater Bay Area within an hour. And I've just taken a train from Hong Kong to Shenzhen North Railway Station. Excluding the time taken to clear customs, the actual commute was only 80 minutes. And the idea is to create a seamless flow of people, not just across cities, but across the border.
That's playing out in a quiet district on Shenzhen's west coast, where Hong Kong University just opened an academy for tech entrepreneurs. The district is connected to Hong Kong by Shenzhen Bay Bridge.
大湾区的腹地无限广阔，前景无限广阔，这都是我们可以大展手脚发展事业的好地方。
China had lofty ambitions to turn Heiwai into the next Hong Kong, with plans for unfettered information access. But as proposals fell through more than a decade ago, the district's appeal soon waned against the rise of central Shenzhen. It is now trying to revive development by giving tax subsidies to eligible firms and to Hong Kong residents working in the zone. Porkfield Technology is joining the ranks.
前海这个它是更多的是鼓励我们去创业，是以 company 以公司的形式在这里，所以从 tax 方面以及从一些租金方面，对我们来说都有很大的优势。
It will be some time before Heiwai reaches the level of Shenzhen. As China's first special economic zone, Shenzhen set a high bar. Its GDP has now surpassed Beijing and Shanghai.
The new generation in China, they're more educated, more open-minded, and there's a higher tendency of these young entrepreneurs or talents, professionals, wanted to seek and learn more about the global business. People in Shenzhen, in Guangzhou, they can speak English, they understand what they don't know, and that they are eager to learn more.
Anhui native Kevin Wong had a head start entering the growing South. He co-founded a 3D printing startup back in 2015 that's gained popularity in the US.
More and more, I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in Shenzhen, they are talking about building their own brand, how to make their brand more popular. Building a brand is definitely going to help with your business growth.
It's a departure from the past. Given its reputation as the world's factory, Guangdong has long prioritized heavy production lines over brand building. E-commerce has changed the game.
In Shenzhen, there we have a policy for cross-border e-commerce companies, especially you are building up your own brand and have your own D2C website. If your sales revenue is over a certain standard, for example, like $1 million per year, they will give you 1 million RMB as a reward for your business.
Deeper integration has also taken place, as new rules allow easier movement of people into the mainland.
Talk about infrastructure, but it's really the people that matters. Hong Kong or Macau, who are non-permanent residents, can now apply multiple entry visas. The same thing is happening with Guangdong citizens within this GBA. I'm bullish with where the country is heading into.
And for more on how the Greater Bay Area will figure in China's next stage of growth, we are joined now by CNA's Deborah Wong and Professor Heiwai Tang, Director of Asia Global Institute at the University of Hong Kong. Well, thanks very much for joining us, both of you. Let's start with you first, Deborah. I'm curious to know that China's laid out this ambitious plan right back in 2017 to turn this whole Greater Bay Area into a high-tech powerhouse. You know, with 2035 as its target to rival Silicon Valley and Tokyo Bay, can you give us an update in terms of their progress? I mean, are they on track to meet those goals, or are there hurdles slowing down the progress?
So the GBA generated about 11% of China's GDP, and that's significant, but there are still institutional gaps. So when we look at the GBA, it comprises cities in Guangdong and also 2 special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. So what that means is we are seeing 3 distinct legal systems and capital account regimes. And, you know, the main challenge is really coordinating these regulatory differences, tax rates and controls to make it easier for businesses to branch out across the region. And we're seeing some progress on that front. You know, within the GBA, cities are already offering tax subsidies to win some Hong Kong SMEs over, like what you saw in the story. But there are also limitations to cross-border data transfers due to different privacy laws. So those are the challenges. But on the flip side, you know, the distinct system does allow some cities to retain their niche. Now, Hong Kong, for instance, remains a viable place for investors from the mainland who wish to manage their private wealth outside the mainland. And I attended a conference by DBS Group earlier this week where the group talked about its strategy in Greater China. Have a listen.
Through this year, we are opening close to 500 to 600 wealth individual accounts in Hong Kong, mainly from GBA customers. We are opening close to 700 SME accounts, mainly from GBA SME customers.
Every month.
Every month. That shows you that even though the economic growth is being questioned, there is a substantial amount of interest, both on wealth individuals as well as SMEs and corporates, to utilize Hong Kong as a first place of account opening and then later on diversify to ASEAN.
So because of the common law system, you know, Hong Kong is relatively more international as a platform. It really in itself allows it to remain a gateway, giving mainland investors exposure to the international world.
Right, Professor Tang, I want to bring you in here now. We just saw how the Greater Bay Area, they've been positioned to capture capital from these high-tech enterprises. But is the GBA story, in your opinion, appealing enough to stand against the geopolitics, you know, of the tech race that's happening as we speak?
This is a great question. We know the reason for why many of the leading technology companies in China today are subject to export controls or sanctions from the U.S. government is because of their successes. And many of these leading companies are actually located in the Greater Bay Area. For example, Heiwai, BYD, Tencent. So I think, you know, in general, the market in the GBA is big enough. We know there are 86 million people. The average GDP per capita across cities is over $22,000, which is much higher than China's GDP per capita. This is also one of the youngest region in China. It's also the region where you can find some of the best universities in Asia. Obviously, many of them are located in Hong Kong. So I see that this is actually a pretty resilient area with a pretty complete supply chains. A lot of young people, a lot of educated people. The next stage is actually more collaboration across the 11 cities located in the Greater Bay Area. One example is, there are a lot of research generated from universities here in Hong Kong, but a lot of this research has not been transferred into actual technologies or commercialized products and services. So there got to be a lot more collaboration. And currently, I see that many of the cities in the GBA are seeing each other more as competitors than collaborators.
That's a good point you make there. And that's what it is, right? I mean, Deborah, we're talking about how ambitious this project is. You know, you're trying to integrate 11 cities, millions of people, trillions of dollars of economy. And what Professor said, collaboration itself, that is an issue. But what are some of the other bigger risks involved in terms of trying to fuse, you know, such diverse regions so rapidly?
You know, if integration helps to bring about more even regional developments, then yeah, it's a good thing. But what you don't want to see is an uneven flow of people to more prosperous cities after the connectivity gets improved. You know, although China has designated a niche for each of the city within the GBA, there are still some similarities that might result in intense competition. You know, Shenzhen and Qianhai, they have similar niches in the commercial, fintech, even professional services fields, and you know, Qianhai is well connected to the CBD in Shenzhen. It also has an airport that's close by. It's also close to a bridge that connects to Hong Kong. So when you look at all these assets, you know, on paper, it is an attractive place to be, but it's quiet. It's quiet because most of foreign businesses are currently concentrated in central Shenzhen, where it's more mature. You know, you have and then also you have the strain on tourism, like for instance in Hong Kong, a lot of day trippers from China, they come into Hong Kong, but they rather return to Shenzhen to stay for the night just because it's cheaper, and that's causing a strain on the domestic consumption. Now, Professor, I have a question for you. You know, with the GBA's rapid rise, we're seeing a big shift in Asia's economic landscape, and given the already fragile ties between US and China, do you think this could accelerate economic decoupling, or is there going to be a sort of new balance of power between these two juggernauts?
You know, Deborah, it's very hard to be optimistic about the geopolitical situation, especially when it comes to the relationship between the US and China. As I have said, right, the success of the GBA, or generally the success of the economic transformation or technological catch-up of China, would only lead to more tension, more frictions between the two biggest economies in the world. So I guess, you know, decoupling is not going to be feasible. You know, I wish there are more sort of functional decoupling. For example, on technologies, I'm not hoping that, you know, there will be collaboration between US companies and Chinese companies. But, you know, on sustainability, on, you know, sort of like traditional manufacturing, I hope that, you know, the two countries will see each other as partners rather than competitors. Some people may even say that we are converging to a world which is called one world, two systems, rather than one country, two systems that we have in Hong Kong. I think, you know, you're going to see separate development of technologies, you know, on IT standards. One part of the technologies obviously is going to be used on this part of the world. Another kind of standards and technologies will be used on the other side, with US being the sort of central driving force.
Yeah, I like how you've coined it, Professor, one world, two systems. And we've been talking about this rather grim geopolitical situation. I want to take the tone down a little bit, speak to Deborah about actually your experience, you know, traveling around the Greater Bay Area. I mean, the trains itself look very comfortable, but I'm wondering just exactly how convenient is it?
So just by the variety of options, you know, it's convenient. Where I am based currently in Hong Kong, I have the option of taking a bus, high-speed rail, or even the regular train, the MTRs, when I make my way across the land border. But within the mainland, you know, so within the mainland, it actually does fulfill that 1 hour living circle, but there are still administrative challenges. Foreigners, for instance, including business travelers, we still must stand in line at the land borders for a long time. You know, it's common to see many people missing their trains, and because of that, you know, people have to add about 1.5 hours to the commute. And then we have the problem also with the Hong Kong's southbound travel scheme for mainland registered vehicles. Now, Hong Kong plans to limit the number of vehicles entering the city from the mainland and Macau to ease the traffic congestion. And so what they're doing is that they're building about 1,000 car park lots on the Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge, and it's already a scaled down figure from the earlier proposed 6,000 lots. So cars must park there, and then after that they have to take a coach into the city. And you know, it's kind of counterproductive because drivers are saying that it's inconvenient. I might as well just take the high-speed rail right into the city. So the whole idea to manage traffic congestion is actually going to be counterproductive to optimizing the megastructure.
Yeah, so still quite a fair bit of waiting time, huh? All right, well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today's discussion, but thanks so very much, CNA's Deborah Wong, as well as you, Professor Heiwai Tang, Director of Asia Global Institute at the University of Hong Kong.